Welcome back to my video tutorials about how to use Sketchup for Schools, or how to get started on Sketchup for Schools. There's plenty still to learn out there that I am not going over in these videos, but I find that the lessons that I have gone with in these 10 lessons that I've given so far are sufficient to get you started and give you enough interest moving forward to be able to find the other aspects of the program that you might be interested in. At the moment, this is the last video I'm going to make for a little while. I might do some more on this moving forward, but for the moment, this is my last in this early series. Today, we're going to talk about the rotate tool again. We're going to learn something that I didn't learn for quite a while. I didn't really use this very much, but I find it very useful. It starts out with my students. I showed them a video which I find on YouTube of a boy making a paper airplane. And then we go through those steps of making a paper airplane. And with my students, I have them make this paper airplane, and then I have them find another version of a paper airplane and to create it on SketchUp as well. So that's what I would advise you to do, is to follow along with the paper airplane, which I'm going to make, which is the basic, simple paper airplane that I made when I was a kid, and that is still being made today by anybody who just quickly wants to make a paper airplane. Alright, so here we go. We're going to start out by once again choosing decimal inches. Get started here. I'm going to delete Edith. I'm going to start out by creating a piece of paper. Oops, that's wrong. I want this tool right there. Standard paper out of a copy machine is 8.5, 11, 8.5 by 11 inches. I'm going to go ahead and go over here and select this view right there. So there is a standard, bog standard piece of paper, 8.5 by 11. Now, we're only going to be, for most of this video, we're only going to be focusing on half of the paper. So I'm going to go to the midpoint here, go to the midpoint there, and I'm actually going to delete this. Because everything we're going to do to this airplane, we're going to do to this half. And then we're going to make a copy of it and put them together to finish up your airplane. Okay. Now, when you're making this particular standard paper airplane, you keep folding it in half and half and half and half and half at an angle. So to achieve that, what I'm going to have you do, first off, is I'm going to have you, close that, is to make this a group. So the next thing I do won't stick to it. It's a way of trying to avoid the lines that I'm creating. If I make any mistakes or I do anything, it just makes it easier if I make this thing a group to start. I'm going to go ahead and grab the line tool over here. I'm going to click in the spot here, and I'm going to move out here 12 inches. So I typed 12, enter. Okay. Now I'm going to grab the selection tool and select this line. And because this has been grouped, this line lives on its own and its own entity, so it goes all the way back there. The blue is right there. If this is not blue right here, it means you did not group this thing right here. And the line that was there combined with this thing, and it doesn't exist anymore. So in order to do this once again, I'm going to need to have this separate here. So I've clicked and created a blue line. Now I'm going to grab the rotate tool, which I believe is under here, and it is. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to control click here. That means I held the control button down while I was clicking. I'm going to move into this position here. And now I'm going to push the divide button, the button down there next to the question mark, and 8. So I'm going to divide this by 8. Enter. Huh. Oh, I need to click first. Click, and then divide by 8. Enter. That worked. Now, in the past, we've done what's called an array, where we took something and we moved it with the control button to make a copy, click, and then X10, enter to make 10 copies. This is the same thing, except instead of multiplying my copies by 10, I moved one copy to a new location, and then I placed copies along it at regular intervals and created the number of spaces that I wanted. So I said divide by 8. I'm going to do that again real quick. And take this thing. I'm going to go to the rotate button. I'm going to select, first I'm going to select my line. Now I'm going to get the rotate button. I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold the control button down and click. Take my hands off. Move it into this position here. Now I've told it how far this array is going to array is going to span, and then I'm going to type divided by 8, enter, and it divides that area into 8 perfect sections. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now, I do actually want these lines to combine and connect to the piece of paper. So I'm going to click on the paper, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to explode. And that's going to ungroup it. And by ungrouping it, now it's stuck. All these things stuck together. And I basically divided this paper into 8 sections. Beautifully. Now, in SketchUp Make, sometimes that, or SketchUp Make, sometimes that doesn't work. I want to show you that. I'll try to move much quicker. Camera, standard views top, 8.5, 11. It gets extraordinarily frustrating, so I'm going to take the time to show you this, but sometimes SketchUp Make does not work the way that it's supposed to. And if this does work the way it's supposed to, then that's not going to make for a very good video, but at least you've been forewarned that sometimes this doesn't work well. I'm going to make that a group. Come over this way, 12 inches. Grab my line, grab the rotate tool, click, control click, up to here, divided by 8, enter. I'm going to take this thing and explode it, and with any luck, I'm going to have a problem here. And there it is. As I clicked here, you'll see that it also selected this one and this one, although it shouldn't have. Let me go back to show you what it's supposed to look like. All these sections should be their own individual sections. But for some reason, sometimes in SketchUp Make and SketchUp Pro, it does not work the way that it's supposed to. And honestly, I can't tell you why it's not working. It just isn't working. And it becomes a problem. Figuring out ways to solve that. Let me try this without the grouping. Let's see. If I take this thing, which is grouped, and I explode it now, and I select this one, and then once again I have to select this one. So I held the Shift key while selecting it. And I think if I move this, it's going to be a problem. Control click. Oh, that worked. Divided by 8, enter. I don't know if this is going to work any better. Once again, we're on SketchUp Make at this point. That worked better. But I think I've had problems with that as well. Anyways. You can try different things. Hopefully, if you're using SketchUp for Schools, it should just work fine. All right, let's go back to SketchUp for Schools now. I'm going to delete all of these things here. And I was able to delete just outside the area because of the fact that everything is now grouped. Now I'm going to select 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. I could do this one with the control button. I could select 4 if I wanted to. But I could also grab like this with the selection tool. Because it's a dotted line, it's going to select everything it's just touching. So that did accomplish the same thing. Now this is the move that I didn't know how to do, and I had never learned, and it was very confusing for a long time. But now I understand it and I know how to do it. But it might be confusing, so pay attention. I'm going to click, I'm going to hold the button down, and I'm going to move into this position right here. And you'll see that this thing right here rotated and became black. It is now going to rotate on this axis. I'm going to now grab here, and I'm going to come over this way, and I'm going to type 180 or 180 degrees. Okay. Once again, I selected those 4 things. I'm going to click, hold the button down into this position, and I'm going to move it to this line here. Anywhere on this line is going to work. And that's going to create that black thing right there. Protractor. Now I'm going to click here, move over this way, type 180 degrees, which is basically half a circle. Now I'm going to select this one, this one, this one, and this one, and I'm going to do the same thing. Click and drag onto this line, click here, rotate 180 degrees, and now I've folded the paper twice. Now I'm going to take the entire thing, and I'm going to click here and drag up to here, click here, and I'm going to drag it up 80 degrees, which is almost halfway up. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to select that and this. I'm a little worried about that. See how it's not selected? For some reason, some of that wasn't selected. I'm not sure why that was. And I'm going to click here. Click here. I'm going to drag along to this line. Click here, and I'm going to rotate it. Well, that's not being very friendly. Control Z. I'm going to put myself into a better position here. And I'm going to grab here, go to there, click here, and come down the way that I wanted to, 60 degrees. Okay? And I don't know if you can see it or not, but I've created basically half of a paper airplane. This is what a paper airplane would look like if you folded it up, or at least half of it. All right, last step to finish up this airplane is I'm going to select the entire thing. I'm going to Control C, Control V to make a copy of it. Type an S for scale. And I'm going to drag it through itself and type -1, enter, making a mirror image of it, which is something we learned from last thing. Now, I'm now going to grab the Move tool, which is in here. Yes, it is. And I'm going to grab the very, very tip of the airplane. Click, and move over here. Oops. Control Z. I'm going to need to select the whole half first, and then the Move tool, and then click here, and zoom in here, and click on that point. Remember, when you're moving things, you have to move from point to point. And I can tell you from grading this assignment in the past, most of the people who did this wrong, I'll show you what their work looked like. Most people who did this wrong, that's what their work looked like. It was incorrectly moved, and thus this is the problem that I expect to be seeing when I'm grading this assignment. So once again, to do that correctly, I can grab this whole thing, come over here, grab here, go right to that end point and click so that it is perfectly connected. And there is your paper airplane. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this series and it was useful for you. I do intend to make more videos in the future, but for right now, this is where I'm going to end it for a while. All right, bye guys.